If the Earth had an edge, I'd hope it looked just like this. The edge of a flat Earth. Yeah, I know, we've gone over this before, but there's something undeniably captivating about the idea. A solar eclipse on a flat Earth, trees growing at angles, the colossal wall of ice supposedly guarded by NASA naturally. Flat Earthers definitely have some vivid imaginations. But let's entertain the idea. What if they were actually onto something? In case you missed the latest scoop from the Flat Earth community, here's a little refresher. For thousands of years, people believed the Earth was flat, and that everything in the heavens revolved around it. Then along came Nicolaus Copernicus with a revolutionary concept. His theory flipped everything on its head. Suddenly, the Earth wasn't flat, and definitely not the center of the cosmos. His observations led him to conclude that our planet was orbiting the sun. Fast forward 500 years, and still, some folks all around the globe cling to the belief that the Earth is flat. Have you ever wondered why planets are round in the first place? It all comes down to one thing: gravity. Gravity pulls matter inward from every direction equally, causing it to form into a sphere. But with a flat Earth, things would be entirely different. Flat Earth proponents argue that gravity isn't real. According to them, we only think there's gravity because some hidden force is pushing the pancake-shaped Earth upward at an accelerating rate. Now I don't have to tell you that you can't accelerate infinitely. Eventually, you'd reach impossible speeds. Anyone else feel like they're being flipped like a pancake? No. Let's talk real science. On a flat Earth, gravity would still exist, but it would behave quite strangely. The gravitational center would be right in the middle of the disk. Everything around the Earth would be drawn toward this central point. The farther you moved from the center, the more intense the gravitational pull would become. Eventually, gravity would begin pulling at such an angle that you'd essentially need to climb just to move forward. That might explain why no one could ever make it to the supposed edge of the Earth. Gravity would be too overpowering around the rim. So say goodbye to any dreams of seeing the magnificent 45-meter-tall, 150-foot ice wall, which flat earthers claim is Antarctica, acting as a giant fence around the disk. You also wouldn't get to peek at whatever's on the reverse side. On the bright side, at least you wouldn't fall off the edge. But this warped version of gravity would have more bizarre effects. Near the edges of the Earth, objects wouldn't fall straight down, they'd fall at slants. Trees growing near the perimeter of the flat Earth would grow diagonally, as they try to grow upward while fighting the odd angle of gravitational pull. Rain, hail, and snow wouldn't fall evenly across the land. Instead, all precipitation would be drawn toward the center, what we now call the Arctic. This would create a buildup of water, snow, and ice, forming one massive ocean in the disk's middle. Another issue: air pressure. Gravity would concentrate the atmosphere toward the center of the flat Earth. As a result, areas near the edges would be left gasping, literally. There wouldn't be enough oxygen for people in flat Earth Australia to survive. Meanwhile, those living near the center would feel the crushing weight of an overly compressed atmosphere, but they wouldn't suffer long. You see, a flat Earth wouldn't have a spinning core, and without that, there would be no geomagnetic field protecting us. That field, generated by Earth's molten core in our spherical reality, helps retain the atmosphere and shields us from solar radiation. On a flat Earth with no magnetic field, our atmosphere would slowly leak into the vacuum of space. We'd be exposed to the sun's harmful radiation, leading to rampant DNA damage and a spike in cancers. Oh, and no breathable air. So unless you happen to stumble upon a life support system, things would go downhill fast. Now, let's dive into those burning questions that always seem to come up. Flat earthers believe the sun and moon move in tight circles above the disc-shaped Earth. According to their model, both the sun and moon are roughly 50 kilometers, about 31 miles in diameter, and function like massive spotlights. But real science tells a different story. If the sun were a spotlight, we'd still be able to see it from anywhere on Earth, even if we weren't directly in its beam. It'd resemble one of those sci-fi alien abductions. Kind of makes you wonder where those stories came from. In this spotlight model, there'd be no proper day or night cycle. That mess up our circadian rhythms pretty badly. How would anyone get a decent night's sleep? Maybe there's a workaround. Let's say the sun orbited above the flat Earth in a loop. In that case, whenever the sun was overhead, the entire world would be bathed in daylight. And when it dipped below, the whole planet would fall into night. No time zones, no seasonal variation, just one giant cycle of light and darkness. Though let's be honest, you could still lose track of time by staying up too late binge-watching what-if videos. Now you might be thinking the small sun idea could save the day, but even that has problems. If the sun remained the same size as it is now but orbited a flat Earth, it would be dangerously close, so close that it would fry the surface of the entire planet. Alternatively, if the sun were scaled down to avoid incinerating everything, we'd be freezing. Because a flat Earth would have about 2.5 times more surface area than a spherical one, it would receive far less solar energy, around 1/3 of what we get now. That's nowhere near enough to sustain life. And we haven't even touched on the moon yet. Flat Earth believers argue that lunar eclipses are caused not by the Earth's shadow, but by something else entirely, like an anti-moon. On our round Earth, lunar eclipses happen when the Earth moves between the sun and the moon. If you applied the same logic to a flat Earth, you'd have to stretch the rules quite a bit to make the geometry work. Any eclipse in that world would require very peculiar and implausible alignments. Let's say, just for argument's sake, that all of this turned out to be true. That Earth's round shape was just a hoax, the globe images digitally altered, GPS manipulated for profit. What then? That would unleash a floodgate of doubt toward every mainstream institution and open the door to even more extreme conspiracy theories. The real concern here isn't just the shape of our planet. It's about the human mind. Many people, flat earthers included, struggle with cognitive dissonance. That's when someone holds conflicting beliefs or ideas and tries to make them fit together, even when they don't line up with reality. We're constantly bombarded by videos, memes, and social media posts offering pseudo-evidence for all kinds of wild theories. With enough repetition, even the most bizarre ideas can start to feel plausible. Just imagine if Copernicus had access to YouTube. After watching 10 hours of conspiracy content, even he might have started second-guessing himself. Who knows? Maybe he'd have joined a Donut Earth forum. And yes, that's a real theory too, but that's a story for another What If.